Hello everyone. Today I'm going to introduce you to a new tool called UnifiedOps. So this particular tool is in beta version at this time, and this is currently not for sale at this time. So this tool is an automation tool where you can do many stuffs like provisioning, deprovisioning of users, and provisioning the users in bulk and whatnot, right? So let me quickly show you the demo. Or I'll take you through the tool, not show you the demo, but I'll take you through the tool. So this is the first page where you see the home page where you will see like Unified Ops by UC Collabing. That's the video, short video on this page. Now here you have certain features like implementation, call manager, unit connection, active directory, and blah blah blah. I'll take you through each of them. So the first piece is implementation, where you are going to add the call manager clusters, Unity connection cluster, Active Directory. Then you can add your device models that you use in your network, add or remove the configuration for sites, add or remove imagical recording server, add or remove voice gateway, Cisco switches, Cisco routers, add or remove Windows machine that you wanted to control remotely. First thing, so here I have defined the core manager IP address along with the cluster name and the username and the password and the version that you have. So whatever core manager cluster that you have in your network, you can define it over here. So once you define it over here, similarly, you can define your Unity connection clusters. So once you define your Unity connection cluster, you can add or remove Active Directory system from here. So whatever Active Directory that you have in your network, you can edit here. Now, similarly, whatever the device model that you use in your network, you can define it over here. For example, 8841, 8861, 8851, and what kind of protocol that you use for these devices, you define it here. So this is helpful in case if you want to provision any of the any of the desk user based on the device model that you have in your network, you can use this. Then the next thing comes here is basically so the next thing is configuration. So I'll take an example over here. So I'm using Delhi underscore config underscore site. So what I'm defining here is okay for if let's say I provision any of the user from this particular site, I choose the device pool as default, or maybe let's say if I have a device pool called Delhi, so I'll define it hard code it over here. So which means whenever I'm provisioning the user, it is going to configure a particular device pool for that particular user. Similarly, I have defined the directory number that you want to use. So the directory number start range and the end range. So whatever the number available in this particular range, so the user is going to be assigned with that particular number from the system with this range. Then the next thing is partition. So whatever user I'm going to provision, I'm saying like, okay, this user has to be in so and so partition and so CSS, right? And other parameters, whatever I'm using it. So I'm not going to take you through each of the parameter, but this is what I'm defining it over here. So once you define this, I'm adding a magical server. If in case if you're using a magical recording server, you can use it over here. Then add or remove gateways. If you have voice gateways, Cisco router, Cisco switches, you can add it over here. And then the use session type, whatever session type that you are going to use, whether it is going to be SSH, Telnet, or whatever, right? Enable password, login password, etc. And then if in case if you want to control any Windows machine remotely, then or not fully, but you can control some of the parameters from the remote machine. So if you want to control, then you can add it or remove the Windows machine from here. So once you define this, the next thing is what you do here is you come here and do a sync. So once you sync the cluster, so what it is going to do is it is going to connect to the defined clusters and get the required configuration from those clusters so that it will be helpful for you to provision the users on whether it is a Java user, desk phone or whatnot. It is going to help you for that, right? So once this sync is done, so it is going to do check whether this sync was successful or not. So this is going to fail because I'm not designed this at this time. So other things are passed because other things are supposed to be passed for the automation to work, right? Now, once this is successful, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's say, go ahead and create Java user. So I'll not be doing creating the Java user and whatnot, but I'm going to just show you the screen. So This is a Java user form, right, where you can choose a cluster. So in the implementation phase where you have added the cluster, so the same cluster name will appear here. So once you select the cluster name, it is going to ask you for the device type. So choose CSF, port, or TCT. So based on the device type you want to choose, you can choose it from here. If it is a desktop Java, you can choose a CSF. Enter the user ID. If you want to provision any specific directory number, you can put the directory number. But otherwise, if you are not going to use that, then the system is going to automatically find out the directory number that is available in the range. If you want to hardcode any partition CSS, you can basically select the partition that you want to hardcode, and then the recording profile, external call control profile, then the service profile. So for example, let's say I want to choose internal partition for this particular user and internal CSS. Now recording profile, I choose a magical recording profile. External call control profile, I choose as test. So all these parameters, what you see here, I'm not put it in the code. So this is something like being fetched from the call manager dynamic. I choose the service profile. And here, if you remember, like I shown in the previous step, like the configuration on the XML, right? So this is the XML where I am defining what is the device pool that this particular user has to use and what is the number range that this particular user has to use. So in our example, we define the number range as 2000 to 2999. So that's the available number that it is going to use. Then if you have any IPCC extension, choose yes. And if you want to associate any user to C6 RMCM, you can choose the particular application user and create user. So once the user is created, right, so you will get the logs for this user. I'll quickly show you the logs, how they look like. So for example, see this as an example, create user. If you're creating a user, so this particular action was initiated by administrator user for the cluster E, and the action was create Java user. And this Java user was created for the user as a Karnani, and it particularly basically assigned, it created a Java phone as a Karnani, CSF a Karnani 00, and it assigns the number as 2000, right? So this is the logs that you can see when the Java users are created. So basically this can create Java users. This can also create your desk user. So for example, as I mentioned, like if you in the previous step, if you remember, like whatever the device model that we wanted to use in our network, we define those, and then it is going to, give you those as a drop down and rest of the parameters that you can select. Then you can create a remote destination and remote destination profile. Then you can lead Java user, remote destination user, or desk user. Then in the operations, what you see here is LDAP sync. So you can perform LDAP sync whenever you want as an ad hoc. So in the LDAP, you go here, choose your call manager cluster. And once you choose your call manager cluster, it is going to list down the LDAP configuration from the call manager in the drop-down menu. And you can perform to choose your LDAP sync. Just to show you quickly. So this is how the message comes to like LDAP sync triggered successfully for LDAP configuration. Now, if you want to change the part CSS, you can choose your call manager, define the directory number that you want to change the CSS to, and define the current partition of that particular directory number. Let's say if the directory number is 2000, which is an internal partition, and you want to change the CSS to something else, right? You can choose this new CSS here and submit the request. Likewise, you can change the partition, you can change the recording profile, choose the cluster from here, put the directory number, put the partition of the directory number, and choose the recording profile that you want to change. It can change the recording profile. Likewise, you can change the FAC codes for the users. You can associate or disassociate the user application users or the phones to the application users. Also, you can update the end user. So basically select the cluster, select the user that you want to change the parameter. You can basically enable, disable the home cluster. You can enable or disable the IMAN presence for that particular user. You can choose change the UC service profile, change the extension or partition, IPCC extension or partition, enable or disable the mobility, and change the wait time and for that particular user. Right. So this is about the end user. Now coming to the troubleshooting. For example, if I want to search for any user, right, I can go here, search for the user A Karnani. So I can get all the related information related to A Karnani. So user ID, extension, what is the current partition for that particular user, what is the IPC's extension, if the mobility is enabled or not, if the home cluster is enabled or not. So all these parameters is something I can get it here. If the user has a RDP or RD or not, and what kind of a device model is that. So I can get all the information related to that particular user. Now going back to the inventory over here. So there is something called set trunk inventory, IP phone inventory, pattern inventory, device class. So let me quickly show you set trunk inventory. So if you see here in the cluster A, if I show you cluster A, so the cluster A has the inventory called, these are the four trunks configured in cluster A, which is registered, unknown, unknown, and registered. So these are the state of the inventory. You can always do a sync to get the latest status of the trunks, right? And you can also download the CSV file. So similarly, you can get IP phone inventory as well. So whatever the IP phone you have in your network, you can get those. So I have these are the CTI ports. Now if I choose CSF economy, so you see this is the user device name and this is your description. This is the model, phone set protocol, device code is in default, MRGL location, owner user ID of this phone, load information and cluster name where it is registered or where it is configured. You can update the phone inventory if you want to get the latest details. Otherwise, you can download the details into a CSV file as well. Similarly, you can get pattern information where you can find like pattern, what are the route patterns or translation pattern you have in your network. You can find them and then you can basically download them as a CSV file. And if you want to get the latest patterns, you can always click on update patterns. Then device classing. So there's something called remote phone control. So you can control the phone remotely. Let's say if I define the IP address of the phone, this is my phone's IP address. Now, as soon as I define the IP address of the phone screen should appear here. So you see, the phone has screen has appeared here. Now, let's say if I want to dial a number, let's say 4999. I send the command to dial the number. You will see the phone is connected right now. Right now, if let's say if I want to hang up the call, I choose soft key 2, and send the command. So this this call will be hanged up. So you see the call has hanged up. So basically you can see the phone screen remotely and you can control the phone remotely as well using this feature. All right. So next thing is basically CDR viewer. So here basically whatever calls that you have made recently, right? So all those calls will be shown over here in this particular system. So basically your calling number, call party number, final call number, duration, cost code, original cost code, destination cost code, device name and destination device name. All those things you can see it here, right? So this is basically it is helpful for the troubleshooting purpose where you can see the serial records. Now let's go to the bulk changes. This is useful when you're changing the partition or CSS in bulk. So this is for the bulk changes. Next is DND list, right? So I just quickly wanted to show you DND list here. So DND list is basically where if you want to block any sort of calls on the network, right, you can block them. Let me show you something interesting. Let's say if you want to, if somebody is making a call, but you want to play pre-announcement before the call is connected to anyone, right? I'm talking about outbound or let's say inbound. Select the inbound. If I want to play any pre-announcement before the call is connected to agent or any user, for example, let's say if there are, let's say if you have a company, right, and the company has 100 numbers. Now this particular location is moving to a new site where the numbers are going to change from ABC to DEF, let's say. Now you wanted to play an announcement before you do the migration, right? That sooner or later the number is going to change from EBC to DEF, and you need to dial after so and so date. You need to dial DEF numbers, right? So you can do any sort of pre-announcement like that using this. And once the announcement is done, then the calls can, whenever the incoming call comes in, the announcement is being played as first, and then the call is connected to the users, actual users. So the actual users do not need to repeat that there is a number change announcement or there is number change happening. So the callers will automatically come to know about the number change announcement. This is just an example. Next is if you want to do any divert, you can do it from here. If you want to block any specific calls, you can block the calls from here. But remember, any of these three settings, whatever you want to configure, but only one will be active at any particular point of time when using these settings, right? So you can play around with the profiles. So this is UC collabing inbound DND, outbound DND. Similarly, you can have another profile for call blocking or divert or announcement. But you cannot, using the same profile, you cannot have all the three settings to be enabled at the same time. Okay, next is I'll show something interesting as well. CRM settings. So what does this mean? Let's say if you have a CRM and the CRM team or CRM agent, the agent using the CRM needs to know any of the information seen in the CRM. For example, if the agent is being called and the CRM needs to pull some of the information related to the agent. For example, the agent's name, agent's birth date, and whatnot, right? So normally, what the agent does is they put the calling number or the call number in memory in the CRM and to get this information. But using this setting, the CRM will be a notification will be sent to the CRM automatically that there is a call from so and so, and CRM should be able to pull out all the information related to the particular call dynamically. So from this particular DNCL CRM settings, you are basically just notifying the CRM about the calling party, called number, and the device that is being called. Rest of the things will be taken care by the CRM. So you can notify the CRM using these settings, right? So so this is about CRM settings. So you can notify the CRM. Next is emergency profile. So let's say if there is any emergency number for any country, right? 911, 100, for example. If let's say if somebody is dialing 911, you want a specific team to be notified that there is an emergency number triggered by so and so person or so and so calling number. So you can configure those parameters over here. So basically, these are email settings that you are going to use in order to send an email. And in the emergency profile, what you're going to do is you're going to define a profile name and the number, which is an emergency number, for example, 911. And the email address to the team or to the mail which needs to be notified. Subject. Okay, subject can be like emergency number dialed and body. So body can be something like this. An emergency number was called by so and so person at so and so time. Please contact the person immediately. So what will happen is any time that particular 911 is being dialed, so you will be notified. Of course, there's something like you have to associate the external call control profile on the 911 route pattern. But as soon as you associate and if someone dials that number, and once you add this emergency profile over here, so that particular person who whatever you mention over here as an email will be notified about this. Okay. Now there's something called missed call notification. So whenever let's say there's if you want to enable missed call notification for the system-wide clusters, right? So what you can do is whenever a call is missed or if a user is busy on another call, if the call is disconnected, right, or user busy or maybe unanswered, you can basically send an email to the called person that there was a missed call from so and so number um, at so and so date and time. Okay, and that person will receive an email for the missed call. Okay, So this is about missed call notification. If in case if you want to enable people who were receiving the call is unanswered or they are busy on another call, they will be notified about the calling party number, whoever has called it, so whatever time it is. Or maybe you are away from your desk, right? You will be notified over an email. Next is autocaller. So autocaller is something like if you, let's say, here you define the call manager IP, call manager port, 5060, calling number and the call number and the email address. So what does this mean? So as soon as you define this, right, and initiate a call, your system, you're going to get a call on your, going to get a call or you're going to initiate a call to the call number. Call number will be receiving a call from this particular server unified ops, and then whatever the conversation that might have at that particular point of time, that will be sent as a, you will be receiving as a recording whatever the discussion happened during the 30 seconds. So this is limited to 30 seconds at this time. So the call can be lasting only for 30 seconds. And the reason why I'm saying that is because let's say if let's say you on daily basis you want to do a health check for a specific circuit, right? For that purpose, you have something called bulk calling database, right? So let's say these are the numbers which you wanted to do circuit check whether these numbers are working or not on daily basis, right? So what you can do is you can submit this whatever numbers you want to do bulk calls, you can submit it over here. And once you submit and bulk call now, if you click on this bulk call now, what will happen is the system is Unified Ops is going to initiate a call to 4999 and 1002, and the call is going to only be lasting for 30 seconds. During that 30 seconds, whatever Unified Ops has heard, right, it is going to capture that particular as a recording and attach the WAV file over an email, and this particular and the email will be sent to the user. Now, who is going to be the user? So let's go here. You see, for example, this email, whenever the bulk call happens, so this email will coming from this and the email will be sent to this particular email, and it is going to send this as a body and attach the recording, whatever the recording that was heard, it is going to attach that, and it is also going to attach a CSV file. In that CSV file, you'll be notified whether the call was answered, unanswered, or any other error codes that you have. So it is going to send you this information. So this is for the bulk call, and there is another option called place a call. So in place a call, you're only going to initiate a call to one particular number, but in case of bulk call, you're going to initiate a call to the bulk numbers. So this is about call manager. Now in Unity connection, you have something called create Unity connection user. So where you define the Unity connection, enter the user ID, extension that you want to use, and the template that you want to use for the voicemail, and the partition on the Unity connection, what you want to use, and then create user. Similarly, you have something called delete user, and in operations, you can reset the voicemail pin from here itself, right? Then this Active Directory you create and delete is not operational at this time. What is operational is Active Directory change AD info, change AD credential or AD search field. I just enter the number here and then search for that user. Now you see all the information related to Avinash has appeared here from the AD. So this information is coming from the AD, not from the call manager. So I can search for the user in AD, and then I can also change any of the AD related information like user ID. I just put the user ID, change the department, office, company information, email address, etc. Similarly, I can change the AD credential as well. I put the user ID, unlock the user account, and put the new password. I can do that as well. Now, next is Imagical recording. So I go here, Imagical recording. I select the server, and then I select the date and time. Let's say I want to see the recording from 1st of October till today. Get the recording. So it is basically, going to fetch all the recording from the Imagical server. And now let's say if I want to see any of the, listen to any of the recording, right? What I can do is I can take this ID, go to the download Imagical recording, select the server and enter the ID, fetch the recording. Once I fetch the recording, it is able to, download the recording. And now you can download the recording into this from the system to your from the server to your system. Download this recording. If you click this, the recording will be downloaded, right? Now, these recordings are stored only for 30 minutes, not more than that. After 30 minutes, the recordings are going to get deleted. So this is Imagical sync, Imagical report. So this is basically used to sync the Imagical, and this is basically show you the Imagical sync reports, how the sync happened. There's something called automation API endpoint. So this API endpoint is useful. Let's say if I create a Java user, right? Let's say if I create a new user, that user will automatically get provision based on the information that I provide in the AD. So let me quickly show you something. Let me show you something. For let's say I create a new user. Let's say I put the username as let's say Tom, Harry, Tom. That's it. Okay, I put this information. Let's say I put the email tom@bcplearning.com, and then put this information like cluster name. This Tom is going to be from cluster A. He's going to use XML as this XML configuration. He's going to use Java CSF. He's going to be part of the contact center, and he does not have a voicemail. I save this configuration. So what will happen is this user Tom, right? In few minutes, this user Tom will appear here after the LDAP sync is done. So let's say if I do a LDAP sync, just an LDAP sync, I'm not going to provision this user. I'm just going to do a LDAP sync. And even though I don't do a LDAP sync, right, this user should appear here. So if you see here, I've not done LDAP sync yet. So this user is appeared into the automation endpoint. Right now, what will happen is if I do a LDAP sync now, for example, call manager, travel, operation, LDAP sync. In this LDAP sync, I just sync the LDAP. Okay, LDAP sync is done. Now, you see the status to be none, right? In some time, the user will get provisioned into the call manager. So we'll look into it in few seconds because this runs every few minutes, the user provisioning. So we'll see it. In the meanwhile, I'll show you the other things. Let me refresh this in the meanwhile. Command center. So basically here you can basically send commands to Cisco routers or call manager, etc. Right? Just let me show you quickly. For example, if I say select a router and I want to get the running configuration, right? I select the router, select the IP address, and run the command. So what it is going to do is it is going to get the fetch the running configuration from the router and show the running configuration here. For example, IP interface. So it is going to fetch the IP information, right? So basically, you can send the commands to the Cisco routers. So the commands you can add or remove here, whatever commands you want to add. For example, show run, show IP interface brief, show SDN status, and then in the run command, select the router device name. It will automatically pop up the IP address, and then those commands will appear, right? So this particular information is fetched If you remember, in the implementation at the move gateways, there we added this IP address and whatnot. Let's see if the API endpoint has run. So if you see, earlier the status was none. Now the user has been provisioned on the call manager. Let's see the logs. So you see, now creating Java phone for CSF Tom 1000. Java user created successfully. It got assigned with 1000 number, and it got assigned with C6 with the application user C6 RMCM. So the phone user has got successfully created. Let's look at the user in a bit, whether the user was found on the call manager or not. Go here to the call manager, troubleshooting, CSM live search, user top. See, I'm able to find this information related to the user. User ID is Tom, the associated device is CSF Tom 1000, extension is this, partition is this, the user has a home cluster is true, IMIN presence is false, and the service profile is so and so, and rest of the parameter, right? So it is basically able to fetch, find, provision the user successfully on the call manager. So which means as soon as you provision the user on the AD, AD is going to send this information to this unified ops, and unified ops is going to provision the user whenever the user LDAP sync is completed, right? So this is about this. Now, similarly, we have Cisco UC. In Cisco UC, you select the cluster. This is call manager, Unity connection, or I'm in presence. Let's say if you have selected call manager, what commands you want to run. For example, show status. If I run this command, show status, it may take some time for the show status configuration to appear, and the system is going to send the configuration to call manager and get the show status configuration from the system, right? While this is fetching this, I'll show you Microsoft Teams. So from here, you can select the tenant of your Microsoft team, and then you can, create a Teams user by putting the display name, user principal name, and location. Once you create, the user will be created on the Teams. Okay. I'll come back to the command that we sent to the call manager. You see, this is the command that we sent to the call manager, and call manager shoe status was found, right? Okay, coming back to Teams. So you can create Teams user from here. You can delete Teams user from here again. You can assign a number to the Teams user by selecting the tenant, user ID, and the phone number. You can search for a Teams tenant. For example, let's say if I want to search for Ravikant, let's see if this user exists or not. I don't remember, but let's see. Okay, I've disabled the internet on this particular system, so that is the reason it will not be able to fetch this information. Once I allow this information, the Unified Ops server to access the internet, then it should be able to fetch this user. Okay, so at this moment I won't be able to show you because I've disabled internet on this particular server. So if I put the user ID, it should be able to fetch the information related to the user. Now coming back to the Windows, so if I click on, let's say this is Active Directory, get services. If I put get services, okay, so this didn't work. Let's pull the information from this another server. So I'm able to get the running services on that particular server, right? Whatever the service are running. Now, action services. Let's say if I want to, let's say enable or disable any of the service. Right now, let's say app readiness is disabled. If I want to enable it, I can execute action on it. Right? For example, Windows Audio. So Windows Audio is enabled right now. Let's say I want to disable. See, service is now stopped. Service is disabled. Now, if I search for the same server and Windows Audio, it will disable. Now, let's say if I want to enable it, I'll click on execute. It is going to enable the Windows service. Similarly, if I select any of the server and I want to restart the system, I can do that from here. This is logs which you have already seen. Next is Grafana dashboard. So if you see whatever calls that happen in last 6 hours, so you'll be able to see all those calls. Let's say in 30 days, what are the calls that happen in last 30 days? You'll be able to see those calls, like total calls, field calls, successful calls, right? These are the total number of calls, how many were missed calls, successful calls in these many days. This is throughout. This is not specific to this time range, but this is throughout like the system. Like what are the number of calls that were in the system, right? Throughout the range. Now, how many calls are active, call attempted, call completed is something what you can see in the dashboard here. Next is what you can see here is like which trunks are in unknown state and which trunks are registered. So all this information you can see here along with the trunk name. Now, if I want to get an alert when the trunk goes down, or let's say if I'm placing a call, if the more than 5 calls are failing at any particular point of time, I can get an alert from the Grafana as well, right? So this particular system is integrated to Grafana now. Next is I want to show you change network. If I want to change the IP address, domain, or etc. anything, I can change the unified ops details here. If let's say I want to ping 4.2.2, of course, as I said, like internet is not allowed, so I'll not be able to ping. So I'll receive request timeout for this particular IP address from here. So this is helpful in case if you're doing any sort of troubleshooting, right? So you see, 100% packets. Now network host, if you want to, let's say, modify any of the host details, you can put it here. Like this is kind of a, basically your local host file. So this is host file of, in the unified ops, you're defining the DNS entries here. NTP configuration, if you want to change any of the NTP related information, you can change it here. If you want to change the time zone, you can change the time zone. So this is currently in India time zone, you can change the time zone as well. Now in admin section, you can create a new user. So new user for unified ops, change the password, help status, service status. In the service status, it is going to show you like what is the service running at this time. So API endpoint, SQL, DNSL service, web service, these are running. If you want to restart, you can restart always. Then cron status, you see, is the currently cron status running on this particular system. Next is your cron management. You see what are the kind of cron that is running and what is the schedule currently. You can always modify the schedule on this particular system, like pattern update script or partition update script or any of this, right? You want to modify, for example, you can modify it on daily basis, or I mean, it depends what is your requirement. You can do it every hour, every minute, every midnight, every X number of days. Now there is something called settings. So you can keep the log retention for 30 days, generic log retention. Cron job related logs, you can keep it for 30 days or you can increase or decrease. CDR also you can increase or decrease. So after so and so days, CDR will get deleted from the system. Sync is already you have seen, like if I do a sync, the system will sync with all the related information. Remote control, so this is basically the username that I have used on my system. So the same user is created as an application user on the call manager in order to control the IP phone remotely. And last but not the least is your logout. So at this moment, these are the features that I'm using on the Unified Ops. I'm going to further develop this and see what are the features that I can, integrate. So if any features, any thought in your mind, please do write in the comments or reach out to me and let me know what are the features that you'd like to see in this particular tool, which could be really awesome for any engineers to use this as an automation tool. All right. I hope this video is informative and you might like this tool. Do keep in touch and let me know your thoughts.